Life can feel like a wild ride sometimes, full of surprises, ups and downs, and moments where we just don't know what's coming next. We often crave certainty, hoping it will protect us from the challenges we fear, but life doesn't really work that way. The truth is, no matter how much we plan or try to stay in control, life is all about change. And it's in accepting that unpredictability, rather than resisting it, that we find what it really means to live. Fear is something we all feel. It's part of being human. Think of fear as a shadow that follows you around. When things are uncertain, the shadow gets bigger. But when you feel safe and grounded, it shrinks. The key is, that shadow isn't real. It's just a reflection of something deeper inside. Remember when you were a kid, and maybe the first time you saw your shadow, you were startled. Adults are like that too. We let fear of the unknown spook us into worrying about things that haven't even happened. But just like that shadow, fear only has power if we let it. We spend so much of our lives trying to control things because we think it will keep fear away. We work ourselves to the bone because we're scared of losing a job. We hide parts of ourselves because we're afraid of being rejected. We avoid taking risks because we're terrified of failing. But in all that effort to stay safe, are we really living? It's like a bird in a cage. The cage may keep it safe from predators, but it also takes away its freedom. The bird can't soar or sing like it was meant to. We build our own cages with our need for predictability, thinking we're keeping ourselves safe. But in reality, we're just missing out on the freedom that comes with taking chances, trusting life, and letting go a little. Fear, at its core, is just energy. It can either hold us back or push us forward. Back when humans lived in caves and hunted for food, fear helped keep us alive. It warned us of danger. But today, the things we fear are different. Instead of lions or tigers, we're scared of things like failure, judgment, or change. We spend so much time worrying about what might go wrong that we don't see how much of it is in our heads. What if, instead of seeing fear as something bad, we saw it as a teacher? Fear shows us where we need to grow. Think of a tree in the forest. If it never has to face the wind, it might grow tall, but its roots will be weak. The wind forces the tree to dig its roots deeper, making it stronger. In the same way, a lot of people think that living without fear means never feeling afraid. But it's not about getting rid of fear. It's about learning to live with it. It's like a surfer riding a wave. The ocean is big and unpredictable, just like life. The surfer doesn't try to control the wave or fight against it. They learn to ride it, trusting that balance of effort and surrender. That's how we can live too, finding freedom in going with the flow rather than trying to control every little thing. Our fear of losing control often comes from a deeper fear, the worry that we're not enough. We think that if things don't go perfectly, we'll somehow be exposed or vulnerable. But the truth is, you are enough, just as you are, no matter what happens. Life isn't something to be conquered or perfected. It's something to be felt, to be experienced, with all its messiness and unpredictability. Ironically, when we try to protect ourselves from fear, we end up creating more of it. It's like piling on layers of clothes to protect yourself from the cold, only to end up feeling smothered. True comfort comes from stepping into life with an open heart, not hiding from it. At the end of the day, it's not about getting rid of fear. It's about changing the way we look at it. Fear will always be there, but it doesn't have to control us. Think of a butterfly. It starts off in a cocoon where it's safe, but that's not where it's meant to stay. Eventually, it has to break free and fly. We're like that too. We're meant to spread our wings, take risks, and embrace the beauty of life, even when it's unpredictable. Life can feel a bit like walking on a tightrope, right? You start off feeling confident, but then something inside you shifts. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's doubt, and suddenly you're struggling to keep your balance. Those unexpected moments when your insecurities or past pain bubble up can really throw you off. What happens next is all about how you handle it. Think about holding a balloon. But this balloon isn't full of air. It's full of all the stress, frustration, and hurt you've collected over the years. The more you carry it around, the heavier it gets. And one day, something happens. Maybe someone says something that really stings, or you hit a rough patch in life, and that balloon is ready to pop. Your instinct might be to hold on even tighter, to protect it from bursting, but that only makes things worse. Eventually, it's going to explode right in your face. This is where the idea of letting go comes in. We often think that holding on to things, our worries, our need for control, letting go doesn't mean pretending things don't hurt or ignoring your feelings. It means understanding that pain, fear, and anger are temporary. They're just passing through. They don't define you. You are like the sky, and your emotions are the clouds. Sometimes the clouds are dark and stormy, but they always move on. The problem comes when we forget this and start thinking we are the storm. We believe that if we can just fix this one thing, we'll find peace. But real peace comes from letting go, not from trying to control everything. Think about relationships. Maybe you've had a fight with a close friend. Harsh words were exchanged, feelings were hurt, and now you're sitting with that weight in your chest, holding tight to your side of the story, convinced you're right. But ask yourself, is it worth holding on to that balloon of anger? Or would it feel better to let go, even if it means swallowing your pride? Letting go doesn't mean giving in or giving up. It means choosing peace over being right. It's about valuing your inner peace more than the need to win. When we hold on to anger or resentment, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to feel sick. You're the one who suffers, but when you let go, you free yourself. You step back into your own power and feel lighter. Look at children. They get upset, they cry, but they don't hold on to it for long. They move on quickly because they don't cling to their pain like adults do. Somewhere along the way, we've learned to hold on to our hurt, thinking that if we let it go, we're somehow letting the experience lose its meaning. But the truth is, letting go is what allows us to heal. It brings us back to that sense of openness, like a child who is free to experience life without being weighed down by the past. Of course, letting go isn't something you do once and then it's done. It's a practice, like working out a muscle. Sometimes you'll let go and feel instant relief. Other times, the feelings will sneak back in, and you'll have to remind yourself to release them again. And that's okay. Life keeps giving you chances to practice. Each time you get tangled up in old emotions, it's another opportunity to pause, breathe, and let go. Think of your mind like a garden. Every time you hold on to something painful, it's like letting weeds grow. If you don't pull them out, they'll take over. But if you tend to your garden regularly, letting go of those weeds before they spread, you'll have space for new things to grow. Stepping out of your comfort zone is scary, but it's where growth happens. You might not always know how things will turn out, but every experience teaches you something. Even when things don't go as planned, you're learning what works and what doesn't. It's all part of the process. So if you're feeling stuck or afraid to make a move, remind yourself that growth comes from trying, from learning, and from letting go of the need to have everything figured out. Take that step. Make that move. Whatever happens, you'll learn something valuable. It's not about getting everything right the first time. It's about growing and adjusting along the way. When you look at life through the lens of constant growth, fear loses its grip on you. You shift from feeling powerless to feeling empowered. And that's a choice only you can make, whether to hold yourself back or to let go and grow. You've got the power to change your mindset anytime you want. Think about how the way we act is often tied to how aware we are. If we're not really in tune with ourselves, if we're just moving through life on autopilot, it's easy to make choices that don't always feel right later. It's like living in a dark room and only seeing bits and pieces when you shine a flashlight. Before you can question what you're seeing, you first have to notice it, right? If you're not fully aware of what's going on, then your subconscious, basically the part of your brain that's influenced by past experiences and habits, takes over, and you just follow those patterns without thinking. Think about the mistakes you've made in life. At the time, you probably acted based on what you thought was right in that moment. You didn't have the deeper understanding you might have now. It's only when you look back from a place of greater awareness that you can see it was a mistake. It's like growing. At each new level of awareness, you can see things you couldn't before. But in the moment, you were just doing what made sense with what you knew then. We don't often stop to question our actions until we start seeing things more clearly. And that's when real growth happens, when we learn to shine the light on our behaviors and start asking ourselves, why did I do that? Or, could I have done better? It's all part of the journey of becoming more conscious and more aware of ourselves.